presumably that's what Jim, and I've got a bit of a snuffly nose. I do apologise if I sound a bit groggy. I'm not ill or anything. I've just got a bit of a snuffly nose. But this is going to be a review that's going to have spoilers and no spoilers. But it's going to be basically a non-spoiler review with a spoiler part to it. So this is what we're going to do from now on. Rather than doing two reviews for the same film, or show or game, I may as well just have it be a non-spoiler video with just having a spoiler section to it. So it's going to be timestamps. So it's going to be a timestamps for the intro of this video and for the no spoiler part and for the spoiler part of this review, which is for the latest Spider-Man film, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. As you can see, I got the Spider-Man soft toy with me here. I've had him since I was about 7 years old. So let me know what you think of this idea of doing no spoilers and spoilers in the same video. Like I said, this is going to be something that I'll probably do from now on. When I do these spoiler reviews, but don't put these spoilers in the comment section below, just in case people are watching this who haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, so they can just go ahead and just skip the spoiler part of the video, and also just don't put any spoilers in the comment section below. Like I said, just in case people haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, they definitely won't want to get spoiled for this film. So we'll start off with the good this is the non-spoiler review part, and then we're going to be moving on to a few spoilers of this film. So we'll start off with the good. So I thought it was a crowd-pleasing film with some nostalgia to be had. I also thought that the story was amazing as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of it the first half of the film, but the second half, I thought it was phenomenal. All the characters were great to see. It was great to see some Spider-Man villains returning, and it was great to see some familiar faces as well. Speaking of the villains, the villains are just really great in this film. They're really enjoyable to see. It's fun to see them interacting with this version of Spider-Man, and interacting with each other. Also, the action is just amazing here. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the first half, the action was definitely done rather well in the first half. It was done even better for the second half for me. I also thought that the relationships were done really well, mainly with Peter Parker and his relationship with his Aunt May and with his girlfriend MJ. And I also think that this film was very emotional, had a lot of weight to it, had a lot of heart to it, and I'd say it's the most emotional Spider-Man film there's ever been for me. I also thought it was quite funny when it needed to be. It wasn't hilarious or anything, but there definitely were some laugh-out moments, but it definitely didn't feel, it didn't feel like it had too many jokes. It felt like it had the perfect amount. I also thought that the CGI was done very well, as you would expect in a Marvel film. The music and score, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely loved that about it. And I felt like it had a very satisfying ending to the film for me. I just had an absolute blast watching this film overall. But now I'll move on to the bad for the bad, before I talk about the bad, there are two credit scenes. One of them appears after the first lot of credits, and one of them appears after all the credits have finished. I'd highly recommend to stay to watch those end credit scenes. You definitely don't want to miss them. But in terms of the bad, there are a couple of unanswered questions which I will talk about in the spoiler part of this video, as well as messy first half. We'll be talking a bit more about that as well. And that's really all I'm going to say for the non-spoiler part of it. I just had an absolutely enjoyable time watching this film from start to finish. Sure, the first half had its flaws. It was still very enjoyable, but when the second half came on, I literally thought it was a masterpiece. If the whole film was like that, it could have been one of my favourite films ever made, and it could have well been my favourite superhero film. But still, I still think that this is an amazing film, and it's definitely one of my favourite superhero films. But it was very close to being my favourite. But now we'll talk about the spoiler part of this video, which there's timestamps to go ahead and skip this if you don't want to get spoiled. If you don't mind getting spoiled, we'll get to it right now. So for the spoilers, it was amazing to see Daredevil from the Marvel Netflix show. He was only in it for a few minutes, but it was still really cool to see him in it. And hopefully we see a lot more of him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was really emotional as well when Aunt May died. I definitely was feeling a lot of stuff when that happened. And it was really cool just to see all those, the Spider-Man coming back. So you've got Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield. It was rumored that they were going to be in it, and when I saw they were in it, I was just, I just honestly couldn't believe it. I was over the moon. But of course it was going to happen. I had a feeling it would happen, and it was just absolutely amazing when it did. I had a huge grin on my face, and it was one of my favourite parts of the film was seeing them coming back. And now we'll move on to the bad for the spoiler side of things. So we'll talk about those unanswered questions. So for me, those unanswered questions are, where is Nick Fury? Apparently Nick Fury hasn't been seen for like a year in this film. But where is Nick Fury? What is Nick Fury doing then? I'll be going to find out what he's doing. My other question is, were there any more Spider-Man that could have helped to save the multiverse? Was it just the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man? There surely could have been more Spider-Man that Ned could have brought to help save the multiverse. That's all we'll see for the unanswered questions. And we'll talk about just the fact that we had a messy first half. Doctor Strange wasn't really acting like himself in that first half. He wasn't really acting like a very nice character, really. I don't know, he just wasn't very... It just didn't seem like himself. He was acting like two different people, like his normal Doctor Strange self and someone who's been a bit immature. And all the spider villains came back because Peter tampered with a spell when he shouldn't have. And I just find that a bit weak, really. Like, it's all because Peter Parker did some very minor things to the spell, and because of that, all the villains are then brought back. Just for that little tiny reason. I feel like they could have had a definitely better reason for how the villains came back. Why would Doctor Strange do the spell when he knew there would be consequences? I don't know why, and I don't know why he was trusting so much into Spider-Man when he's only seen him a few times. I might have only seen him once. So it's like, why is he putting that much trust into him for a spell that he knows there are consequences for? I just find it a bit confusing for me. That's what we're going to say for the good and bad. For the spoilers, we'll now move on to the verdict of this film. So for me, for the verdict, I recommend this film to people who like Spider-Man and superhero films, and I rate this film a 9 out of 10. Had absolutely blast, one of my favourite superhero films. It's one of my favourite superhero films of the year. This and tied with The Suicide Squad. I enjoyed them both absolutely. They're both absolutely amazing. Highly recommend to watch them both. And I've enjoyed doing the review for this film, and I've enjoyed watching it, and I cannot wait to watch it again. I'm really looking forward to doing that. But as it stands, the 9 out of 10, maybe because of messy first half, it could be like an 8 or an 8.5, but I'd have to rewatch it and see. But for me, the second half was just spot on 10. I had no problems with it, and because of that, I feel like a 9 for me is the fair score. But I might go ahead and give it an 8 or an 8.5 eventually, but at the moment, it is a 9 out of 10, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it does stay as a 9 out of 10. And usually this would probably be the part of the video where I'd rank all the Spider-Man films. Unfortunately, that would take a bit of time, and I've got quite a lot of things to do today. So, because of that, I'll just go ahead and just rank the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. So this is my favourite, Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'll rate a 9 out of 10. My second favourite is Spider-Man Homecoming, which I'll rate an 8 out of 10. And my third favourite is Spider-Man Far From Home, which I would give a 7.5 out of 10. I've also ranked all the Spider-Man films, just No Way Home hasn't been included, and I'll go ahead and link that in the description for you to go ahead and watch after this video. But now we'll go ahead and move on to the verdict for this film. But that's it for this video. You can let me know your thoughts on this film in the comment section below, but no spoilers, as most of this is an unspoiler review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. With great power comes great responsibility. Excelsior, ciao, and enough said.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider. We're all part of one big family, the human family, and we all come together in the body of Marvel. And you're part of that family. You're part of the Marvel universe that moves ever upward and onward to greater glory. In other words, Excelsior!